Now, these larvae and these shadows in turn feed what I have chosen to call the chaos monster. And this chaos monster has a biblical name. It's called Leviathan, the crooked serpent. And I'm sure most of you have heard of it. It's featured prominently in, I think it's the 41st chapter of Job, and also it's mentioned in a couple of the Psalms. And this is, you didn't understand, from the standpoint of black magic. Leviathan is one of the 4 crown princes of the satanic kingdom. This is the way Satanists look at it. And so this is a very powerful entity that basically is a water being. Just like, Satan is a fire being and Belial is an earth being. Well, this is a water being. So, but he is the Lord over all of these shadows and these larvae. And so when you feed them, they in turn feed Leviathan. And this is the problem, because by having sinful anger and sinful fear, and please notice I'm saying sinful, and ultimately this is between you and your heavenly Father. If your emotions are out of line, if they are sinful, if you've been holding on to them too long, ask Him to help you deal with it. Because again, there is righteous anger and there is a sensible, prudent kind of fear. But what we're talking about is the kind of fear and the kind of anger that just paralyzes people and makes them just fume inside in terms of the anger. So these disturbances are used by the evil one and his minions, the evil Illuminati and all the brotherhood, whatever you want to call it, to potentiate evil and to bring down America and make it vulnerable to both spiritual attack and also physical attack. And you see, black magicians, and I used to be one, and again, I'm not talking racial here, this is a term, a black magician is an evil, of course, all magic is spiritually forbidden, but what I'm saying is these are evil, unethical, for lack of a better word, magicians. They use anger and fear as storage batteries to power up their spiritual enginery, so to speak, to attack Christians, to attack the church, to attack what they perceive to be good things. Now,
in Hebrew, dragon translates to Tannin, a great sea monster, which brings us back to the Merovingians, whose name is said to derive from Merovi, king of the Franks. According to the legend, Merovi had 2 fathers, King Clodion and a strange beast of the sea. The Druidic title of Pendragon, which means high dragon or king of kings, was passed on to the Merovingian kings in 666 AD. In Bloodline of the Holy Grail, Lawrence Gardner says, quote, "Despite the carefully listed genealogies of his time, the heritage of Merovios was strangely obscured in the monastic annals. Although the rightful son of Clodion, he was nonetheless said by historians Priscus to have been sired by an arcane sea creature, the Bisti Neptunus. The Cimbrian Franks, from whose female line the Merovingians emerged, were associated with the Grecian Arcadia before migrating to the Rhineland. As we have seen, they called themselves the Numaj, people of the New Covenant, just as the Essenes of Qumran had once been known. It was the Arcadian legacy that was responsible for the mysterious sea beast, the Bisti Neptunus, as symbolically defined in the Merovingian ancestry. The relevant sea lord was King Pallas, a god of old Arcadia. The immortal sea lord was said to be ever incarnate in the dynasty of ancient kings, whose symbol was a fish, as was the traditional symbol of Jesus. This sea creature represents Neptune, the god of the sea in mythology, who is said to have founded Atlantis, which is the pagan version of the pre-flood civilization which God judged in Genesis, and it describes the intermarriage of mankind with the sons of gods. Quote, "And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, and that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh. yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, of which were of old, men of renown. It implies that the serpent seed continues after the deluge through Noah's Caucasian descendants, with the serpent being perceived in different ways depending on the civilization, as even Jesus is said to have referred to serpents as wise. The legend of King Merovi seems to conceal the true origins of the Merovingian race in remote antiquity. Merovius derives from the French words mer, meaning sea, and ver, meaning werewolf or dragon. The book of Revelation informs us that the dragon is the devil and Satan. Yet the Hebrew word Satan means an adversary or one who resists. So again, what should be considered is from whose perspective is the story being told. This helps to explain the esoteric allusion to the Merovingians' progenitor, King Merovi, a king of France sired by a mysterious beast of the sea, and the claim that the Merovingian dynasty is of literally satanic descent. In the book Holy Blood, Holy Grail, the authors tell us, quote, there are at least a dozen families in Britain and Europe today, with numerous collateral branches who are of Merovingian lineage. These include the House of Habsburg, Lorraine, Planter, Luxembourg, Montesquieu, and various others. According to the pre-war documents, the Sinclair family in Britain is also allied to the Bloodline, as are various branches of the Stuarts. In many of its documents, the scion asserts that the new king, in accordance with the Merovingian tradition, would rule but not govern. In other words, he would be a priest king who functions primarily in a ritual and symbolic capacity, and the actual business of governing would be handled by someone else, conceivably by the Priory de Sion. After the Merovingian dynasty was deposed by the Roman Church in 800 AD, their bloodline was preserved by the Imperial and Royal Dragon Court, which conspired to regain control of the Holy Roman Empire through infiltration of church and state. Their insignia was a dragon in the form of a circle and a red cross, the Rosy Cross of the Priory de Sion, the Knights Templar, and the Rosicrucians.
The beast was the inspiration for the English philosopher Thomas Hobbes in his work Leviathan. According to Hobbes, the man in his natural state, where there are no laws, tends to unleash an all-against-all quarrel. To eliminate this state of anarchy, there has to be a social pact, where everyone relinquishes part of their sovereignty in the name of a figure who has absolute power. This figure that would have authority over men would be the state, which, due to its power before men, Hobbes compares with the gigantic biblical monster known as Leviathan.